There's this concept that I have toyed with a little bit. Men need to accumulate enough man points before they can open up about their emotions. And honestly, that's kind of like what we tell ourselves anyway. It's like you can't show emotions or you can't show any kind of weakness until you've earned the right to show. You need to prove that you can take hits before anyone takes your softness seriously. And for a long while, I believed that too. I thought that you had to bleed first, financially, physically, emotionally, before you could even think about saying, I'm not okay. Because in this world, especially and specifically as a man, your value seems to depend on what you can endure, what you can provide. Not necessarily what you feel, but what you can carry. But there's a strange moment that comes after you've carried it for too long. You start to realize that the armor you built to survive becomes the very thing that isolates you. You're surrounded by people who see your strength, but not your exhaustion. They cheer for the wins, but they don't see the toll. And maybe that's our fault, because we don't show it. We were never taught how to. We were taught to provide, to endure, to push through, to be a man, but we were never taught to let go. How to say this hurts without losing man points or without losing respect. When I started my business, I wanted to be that guy that never broke. No bad days, no excuses, just results, constant results. But when things finally started going well, when I hit those goals that I would dream about and I would put for myself, that's when I realized something that I honestly didn't expect. I wasn't happier, I was just busier. I had achieved everything that I thought would bring me peace, and instead, I just found new problems dressed in better clothes. You must not outsource your self-worth to the crowd, because crowds are fickle. They'll treat you like a king until you mess up, right? It's like you can do the best thing, best work in the world for a very long time, and then the moment you mess up once, they'll behave you in the same breath that they used to praise you. And it's insane, honestly. If your peace depends on any kind of applause, you'll never stop performing. At some point, you have to stop chasing the validation and start chasing meaning, like we talked about before. Because any pursuit that you love will eventually turn into labor. And that's not failure, that's just nature, that's how it goes. The things that once gave you butterflies will, over time, demand discipline. Your dream becomes a job. But that's what separates the boys from the men. Staying in love with the labor when the romance fades. You don't get to avoid the weight, you just get to choose what's worth carrying. Try as hard as you can at one thing for a very long time and then see what happens. Because most people never do. They want to dabble just enough to avoid any kind of disappointment, to avoid failure, but never enough to risk greatness. Because effort guarantees pain, and ignorance is very bliss. So the question becomes, what pain are you willing to live with? What struggle are you willing to sign up for every single day, even when it stops being fun? Because if you can find meaning in the struggle, it stops being punishment. It becomes more like purification. Take the thing that poisons you, the doubt, the pressure, the expectations, and turn it into a tonic that you can gurgle and swallow. Let it harden your spirit, not your heart. And honestly, that's when it all hit me. Your heroes aren't gods. They're just people who got really good at one thing by rejecting everything else. And that realization is heavy, because once you see it, you can't really unsee it. The people you admire, the ones who look like they have it all together, they're often holding it together with the same kind of tape that you're holding yourself together. They've just learned how to make it look cleaner. You realize that every crown is heavy, and the people wearing them, they're not immune to doubt. They just got really used to carrying it. And that's when another truth hit. It was like a 1-2 hit combo, you know what I mean? We often tell ourselves that happiness lives on the other side of achievement. You've already achieved the goals that you once prayed for. You've already crossed the lines that you said will make you content, that will make you happy. and still your happiness has faded. Where has it gone? Where's all this happiness that you promised yourself? And honestly, what does that tell you? That the finish line keeps moving. The goalpost is forever moving. That happiness isn't something you get to, it's more of something that you notice. Sometimes you don't need more. You just need to remember. There's this strange shift that happens when scarcity turns into opportunity. When you're no longer firing in all cylinders to survive, but more like to sustain. You think that will make life easier, but it doesn't. It just replaces desperation with pressure. And somehow, problems of abundance can still break you in quieter ways. Everything will be fine, even if you don't believe yourself. Because you don't need to believe in yourself to keep going. You just need to keep going. Faith doesn't always sound like confidence. Sometimes it sounds like exhaustion's whispering one more day. You can believe that you aren't worthy of things and still get them. Because worthiness is a feeling. It's not a law. It's not a rule that you have to live by. And life doesn't wait for you to feel ready. So I'll ask you this. When things go right, when life starts paying off, is your feeling happiness or is your feeling fear? Because if it's fear that it all might fall apart, then maybe you haven't learned to receive what you've earned. Maybe part of growing isn't just building strength. It's learning how to stop fighting once you've won. And honestly, that's a lesson that I haven't learned yet, and it's probably the lesson that will change everything. And that's the weight of the crown. It's the burden of wanting more, even after you've gotten everything you said you wanted. It's realizing that peace isn't found in perfection, but in presence. That masculinity isn't silence. It's not holding your feelings back. It's not like just hiding in a corner with all of your doubts, with all of your fears, with everything that makes you sad, with like your not okay mindset. It's more of that self-control. It's that allowing to feel things and giving the grace to be able to talk about those things with someone that trusts, and for having the faith that they're gonna listen. It's about having that self-control over your own fucking emotions. When you're sad, when you're mad, when you're happy, when you're high, when you're low, everything. Self-control is masculinity. When you don't let these things that you feel control you and make you feel more things, second order of emotions. When you control yourself and you don't feel any second order of emotions and you just accept and work on how it is that you see yourself, how it is that you see others, how it is that you treat others, how it is that you're gonna react or act towards how you're feeling, that in itself is masculinity. And success isn't happiness. It's a responsibility, right? You're responsible for people. You're responsible for the work that you do. You're responsible for your own well-being. You're responsible for the people that depend on you. That is what success is. And the moment you stop chasing applause and start chasing meaning, the weight of that crown will finally feel like it fits. And we have finally arrived. Each season of the journey strips you down, and it rebuilds you, and it humbles you in very, very different ways. You go from solitude to reflection, from reflection to acceptance, from acceptance to the truth. And when it's all said and done, you realize that there was never really an ending, just another beginning, shaped by who you've become and directed by who you are going to be or who you want to be. Because maybe, I don't know, sometimes maybe the journey isn't about becoming more. Maybe it's about becoming enough. And in that quiet realization, you finally set the crown down. Thank you so much for listening and for watching. It really does mean the world to us, and we really appreciate every single one of you who sticks around all the way until the end. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, leave us a review on the podcast platform. It really does help us grow. And until next time, see you guys.